Welcome to Beyond the Roar.
This is a podcast about intentional conversations around life, family, and church. I'm Chris, a barber and a builder.
And I'm Todd, a pastor and visionary.
We're not just church people. We live real life, talk to real people, and we believe everyone matters, no matter what rung of the ladder you're on.
Our mission is simple: reach the lost, heal the hurting, and listen without bias in a world that's quick to label and slow to care.
If you're looking for perspective, encouragement, and honest conversation, this is Beyond the Roar. In this episode of Beyond the Roar, we're talking about real Christians versus fake, the main idea being corporate Christianity ruins Jesus' plan. Please enjoy today. So, what we're talking about this morning is going to be the difference between following Christ and performing religion. And I think that's a very important topic in this day and age.
100%.
Because a lot of people live out religion and don't follow Christ in the way that they should, in my opinion.
When I do funerals or weddings, that's formality. But when we go into church, we take the brakes off and we have church.
Yeah.
And if people like the form and the fashion in their church services, that's up to them. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You serve Christ however you want. However, in our circles, we take her from the bootstraps and have church.
It sounds like Mom.
Yeah.
Mom's she likes to follow the like the Queen and, well,
Yes.
who used to be the Queen.
Royal family.
The royal family. She likes to follow the formalities. And it's interesting to look on that stuff so I can understand people wanting formalities, but at the same time, too much formality, you get, well, whitewashed, I guess.
You get dry.
You get dry. Dried out old popcorn fart.
Formality is important in certain ceremonies. If you're going to do a baby dedication, there's just certain things you follow to make it flow nice.
Yeah.
And weddings, funerals like that. I have a funeral, not a list, but I have how I go down through. I always open with the obituary, then I go into prayer and welcoming everybody here today, and then I go down through. That's form, and that's good. And in many of our circles, the churches have somewhat of a form we go by. Opening, there's song service, there's offering, there's the message, but when it just becomes that, how dull would that be?
That's boring.
Terrible boring.
We've seen people over the years, like in all the churches that you pastored or we attended, and there's always days where people follow just that, just their religion. They go through the motions. We've gone through the motions before. It's just how it works sometimes.
You know what? I've even saw people in their worship
Yep.
to God going through the motions. No heart in it.
No.
It's just lift my hands and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But you got to put your heart in it.
I've done that in here.
Yes, I've been guilty of it.
You talk to somebody and you're not really interested in what they're saying. You're just trying to get through the haircut.
Yeah.
I hate to say it that way, but I mean, what?
I've looked at people before that were telling me, maybe not a crisis, because I do pay attention to people, but when they were telling me a story and I've already zoned out, my eyes have waxed over and I'm thinking about fishing or hunting or whatever.
Any number of things.
And because your mind is on so many things, and that's just one more issue that you're listening to.
Exactly.
And you have to process that. So if you can block it, It doesn't come into your processing station.
You ever imagine about Jesus? It says in the Bible that he had, of course, huge numbers of people following him, and all those people wanted to sit down with him and have a whole conversation.
Yeah.
And what did it say? He had, not mercy, he had, they were out by the river. He had a whole slew of them, and he had
Compassion.
compassion on them.
Yeah.
And that would have been hard, because I'm sure he felt the same way we did.
Jesus would have been a modern time celebrity,
Yep.
less the paparazzi. Like, you know, people know us in our village, in our town, and in our province, but nobody's chasing me with a camera. But can you imagine some of them celebrities that they can't even go outside their door? There are people there. They're in the limelight. They're trying to put a different spin on what's actually taking place. The news is good at that, you know. The media is good at.
Oh, yes.
They have a narrative, and they want you to believe whatever that narrative is, whether it's right or wrong, normally wrong, or false. They're going to spin that.
Yeah.
And those celebrities have to put on a hat, put on glasses, put on a hoodie, put on whatever to get out to where they're going, because everybody wants a little piece of their time, and you only have so much to give.
Now that's funny to me too. Like, what's the importance of that? I said that yesterday. There's people that are rich, and people just, they want to be noticed by the rich person. Like, what's the use in it? Probably
just to say that I spoke with them. It's a braggadocious thing, bragging. You know, oh, I got to. Like I've said this before, and whatever, and we met Vince Gill years ago. It was a really cool thing. And I got a selfie with him and everything. And I've listened to Vince Gill for years, and I love his singing. And some music is take it or leave it, but by and large, he's a fantastic singer and got great lyric ability. And I remember when I took the picture, I couldn't wait to show people. Why? Because I got a picture with Vince Gill.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what people want, is that to feel connected to somebody bigger than who they are, I think is
that
what.
Makes sense.
So when Jesus rolled onto the shore, and there's 7,000 people that are there, even the scripture men. That was just men. But can you imagine the women and the children involved too? So now you're up into the thousands and tens of thousands. Yeah. And can you imagine, the scripture teaches about the woman with the issue of blood that was trying to get to Jesus, and it said that the crowd was thronging him. They were surrounding him. Everybody wanted to reach out and touch him. But when she made her way to Jesus, he stopped and said, wait a minute.
Yes.
Somebody touched me. And his disciples said, hello, Lord. Look around you. Everybody's here vying for your attention. Yeah, but he said, somebody's reached out with faith. So, and I'm certain that there are times in the celebrity area where they do get through, or somebody gets through to them, and they sit down and have conversation, and they enjoy time together, and then they go their separate ways. And Jesus was much like that. I hate to call him Jesus Christ Superstar. There was a thing about that years ago, but he was a superstar. He was. Everybody wanted a piece of his time.
Yeah.
And that's why even just people in general, when you're not a celebrity, or you have to be careful who you give your time to, because every person that you give time to pulls stuff. Jesus called it virtue. Virtue has gone out of me. And when you're giving. And if you let everybody on your bus, that's what our producer's mother, Jetta Roark, told me years ago in the Southern gospel industry. And we never did have a bus. We had a van.
Yep.
But Jetta said, Todd, be careful who you let on your bus.
Yeah.
And she was figuratively speaking that not everybody that you let in. This morning I was reading through my devotions, and I believe it was King Hezekiah, but don't quote me, I don't want to be wrong. The writing was on the wall, said, you're going to die. Mm-hmm. And he went to the Lord and he cried and said, Lord, I've done everything for you. And I've been good, and I'm trying to. And the priest come to him and said, "Thus saith the Lord, you have 15 more years."
Yep.
So God granted him. But through all of that, he was excited, he was celebrating, and he let the enemy come into his house, showed him everything in the storehouse, showed him everything that he had.
In Babylon.
Right. And the Babylonians. And the priest come to him and said, Who did you let in? Well, that's the enemy. Yeah. What did you show them? Everything. And right then he said, "Thus saith the Lord, you're going to lose everything you have. Mm-hmm. The enemy is going to take it. It's going to be led into captivity. Some of your sons are going to serve as eunuchs for that king." And
Not in his lifetime, though.
No. But what he said was, "Hey, how cool is that?" He was
Yep.
not thinking
It
straight.
wasn't, well, I think he was thinking straight, but the fact that it wasn't in his lifetime, he didn't care.
Right. Well, he said there will be peace.
Yep.
How cool. I brought peace. But at what cost?
That's right.
So if you want to have peace in your home, peace in your life, that comes with a cost.
Yep.
And if you just let everybody in, you can't do that.
That's right.
You can't do that.
You
have to be selective. So Jesus was that way too, because there was times where he even said, "I need to go away to the mountain to pray,
Yes.
to think, to stretch, to relax, to reboot." That's what he was doing. Fantastic.
Now, it wasn't just the people after him, though. We know that. The Pharisees.
Mm-hmm.
And not just to get virtue out of him. In fact, I was just reading this morning, it was only one. It said there was one on the council, which was the one that took him and buried him in his own personal tomb.
Joseph.
Was it Joseph?
Of Arimathea.
Yeah, he was on the high council of the whatever it would have
Pharisees
been.
and the Sadducees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said he didn't agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was neat. But Jesus said a couple times, of course, they're whitewashed tombs, outwardly clean, inwardly dead. They honor God with their lips while their hearts are far from Him. It said about they wash the outside of the bowl, but the inside is clean. And that, of course, is the biggest thing we're focusing on today is people that are fake.
Yeah.
They're all about rules. They're all about the outward, while inside they're
Dead.
They're rotted. They're dead.
Yeah.
They're nothing.
100%.
And that's scary.
That's why do people, so Joseph, for example, hung around with them. They were his friends. They were his mentors. They were his leaders. He didn't agree with it, but why did he stay with it? Why didn't he break off and start a Joseph sect of whatever that was?
It said that he was waiting for the salvation or for the kingdom in the Bible. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of funny to me. But I wonder as well if it would have been one of those things where if he left, he would have been persecuted, and maybe it was the Lord's will for him to be in that place.
Right.
To be in the church.
To be an example of how
example.
not to be.
Yeah. But I had a story in here one time. A guy come in, and it's funny to me because you see people in all stages of life, of course. And every time he comes in, it's, how you doing? Good to see you today. And he is outwardly different than he truly acts. He'll act one way towards you. I shouldn't say he would be a two-faced person, but just, it's funny to me that people can act that way, where they can, to your face, be happy. He doesn't talk behind my back. I don't say it for that reason.
Right.
But, there's a sickness underneath. And there's something underneath that he doesn't let people see.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks are like that too.
Would that be just his group, you mean, that he hangs with or that he runs in?
It could be his lack of a group. I don't know.
Right.
In our generation, especially, there's a lot of people that only play video games.
Yeah.
They surf the internet.
Yeah.
I just listened to something yesterday about attention spans. Mm-hmm. And the TV generation that came up has a lower attention span than in the early 1900s of the books, and etc. That's neither here nor there. But our generation's weird in that aspect. They're stuck. You could spend all day inside on this, not see anybody, say you have friends, but not talk to any of them.
That video game or that whatever that you're watching could be movies, I don't know, but usually video games, there's interaction in there. Whether it's you're interacting with the computer system that's playing or it's actual team players that are in there playing as well with you, whatever the game might be. So you feel like you're getting that interaction, which you're not. It's not real. That's fake life, not real life.
There are situations, I got some buddies that play, and they go on a site called Discord, and they talk on there, and they'll solve puzzles together in games, and they'll do different things. And so that could be a form of hanging out. But most of these guys, they go on like an online game like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And they're with a bunch of strangers they never met. And it's not about having friendship. It's about yelling at each other and seeing who can make the biggest joke. There's a lot of jokes about the old Call of Duty lobbies that there's a lot of wild words said in them.
Oh, I believe it.
You know, wild things that people would say just to get a rise, you know.
See, that's a world that I don't understand. When you were a teenager, you used to have, I think it was your Xbox.
Yeah.
And every now and again I would jump on because I loved NASCAR. I loved NASCAR. And I would put you had what were they called? Turtle Beach headset and everything. And I would put it on and I'd log into my thing and I'd be on Talladega or Daytona and we'd be racing. And the drivers and I, because it was real time around the world, people, and we would be talking and they would be asking while we're trying to bump draft each other, you going to Daytona this weekend? Who's watching Daytona this weekend? And it was kind of a meeting space and it was neat. And then, you know, I remember one particular day, this guy and I were the front of the pack. We were in a 250 lap race, full on real time 250 lap race, pit stops, the whole thing. And him and I were talking, and he said, "Man, you're doing really good bump drafting. This is great." I had a plan to go out by him later on, and I did. But that was that interaction. So I understand that, but I don't stay there. I mean, that was an hour, and then I have life that I have to go to. But some people stay trapped in that cycle, steady. And I notice the younger generation, in our generation now, the younger ones, that phone, that space is becoming their complete life.
Yep.
And they have no idea how to interact with a real person in real time. Real versus fake.
I've got a goal to not give our child any sort of huge stimulating content like that. There's a group of people that are even investing in VCRs again.
Wow.
And removing phones, removing Netflix. Because anytime you go on those sites, it's constant. They want you to stay on there as long as you can.
Yes.
They got recommended videos. They got videos after the movies that you watch. And I just heard recently that Netflix is producing movies now to, or rather, they're producing movies for people that aren't paying attention.
Wow.
Believe it or not. Because most of the time nowadays when a movie's playing, somebody will be on their phone scrolling or doing something, or washing the dishes.
Yeah.
And they're producing movies that will constantly remind you what's going on in the story to lead you through it. Just almost like a podcast that you're listening to.
Yeah.
And that was the weirdest thing I'd ever heard.
Wow. I wonder what we'll probably know later on because Big Brother's watching, so it'll tell us here shortly.
Yeah, YouTube will remind me after.
We have a recommendation for you, so we'll watch some whatever movie. If I'm going to watch a movie, I find it hard to pick a movie that I like. Comedy has gone out the window. Comedy is in the tank, 100%, from what I grew up on. Real comedy. And so I find it really hard. So your mother and I enjoy series. We'll go in and find The Office, for example. We watch that. I've watched that series through back to back to back to back. Like we just throw it on when we need a reprieve from whatever else is happening. And for 45 minutes at night before bed, we'll watch two episodes of The Office. Hilarious, slapstick comedy. And I love it. And it's relatable to me, so we enjoy it. But to tune on to Netflix to just watch a movie, I find it really hard. There's a binge watch section, says binge watch for you. Based on your recent watches, this is what we have and whatever. So, but yeah, but I can't stay in that world because that's not my generation.
Yep.
My generation grew up building camps in the woods, literally climbing fir trees in the bushes in the woods, jumping over onto birch trees, and we used to call it parachuting down to the ground.
I had a guy tell me about that.
Yeah, sometimes that tree broke, I sucked. Hope you're all right down there.
Throwing apples at each other?
Yes, sir. We'd get a big long stick and put an apple on it, and you'd hear that go.
You know who it was?
Dale?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we did it together.
I shouldn't even tell that story, but he said him and a few, I don't think you were in the group at the time, but a few of them went out, and they were throwing apples at cars driving by.
Yep.
And apples are rocks, and one of the rocks got embedded in the car, and they said the car just
Yep.
stopped right up, backed up, and they said they were in the woods.
Thankfully, it was nighttime, so we could run to the woods.
Yeah, they were gone.
There was the two houses up from where I grew up, there was a ditch that kind of went down like this, so we could lay on that. I mean, we didn't have much. We didn't have a fake life to get into, so we had to create excitement. We lived in the country.
You created it all.
It was wicked, wild. We had fun, though. People that got the apple probably didn't appreciate it so much. But if that's the worst that we did, and that was bad enough, but if that's the worst, and I look back over the years, that is the worst. I never egged a car on Halloween, although some did. Some probably still do. I never egged a car because it's somebody's property, and I was brought up to respect that. Did we toilet paper a few trees? 100%. But toilet paper melts and goes away eventually, sometime. But we never did anything crazy, So we come in that generation where we had to learn how to entertain ourselves.
Yes.
My generation was, you would go down the road to your buddy's house, and you knew who was there by the sneakers that were outside the door and the bikes that were laying crisscrossed all over the dooryard. Jason, Dale, Brad, all these people are here because there's their bike and that's their shoes. So you just walk in the house, hey, and join in whatever they were doing.
Yep.
And it was just fun. It was just fun time.
Well, that kind of goes talking about the creating your own fun. Back in the early 1800s, what did people have? The same thing you did.
Right.
Although there wasn't cars to throw stuff at, There was windows to break still, I imagine. They had, cow tipping. You had to do your own thing.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Your grandfather, my dad, and his brother, and I won't mention his brother's name, but they worked at a local factory that does French fries near us years ago, back in the 70s. And the old fellow used to drive by on the train every day with loads of potatoes or whatever. And they took because they were working where the potatoes get put in first, and then they go up through a conveyor. And Dad said they great big rotten potato. And that old conductor was coming with it, and he was leaning out the window looking things all over, and they just whipped that at him. And it hit the window, or it hit the inside of the cab. It may have even hit the old fella, or whatever it was. Anyway, they got fired.
Yeah.
But you're creating excitement in a dull moment. Yeah.
That's crazy.
The old potato might have smelled like a French hooker, but other than that, it was great.
I never did nothing like that.
Oh, probably not.
Not at all.
Yeah, okay.
I almost fell off a cliff one time. But
You did. I remember getting a phone call, and you and Jordan were going up and down Harvey Hill and up on Cherry Street doing ding dong ditch to people's house.
We did that once.
Yeah. Neither one of you could run fast enough to get away before the people came to the door.
Fall right down.
Yeah. They're like, your child is ringing our doorbell and trying to run away, and we see them running up the road, and we just wanted to call you to let you know. And I'm like, thank you. Have a great day. Appreciate it. Thanks for the heads up. Look, I didn't care. You could have been doing any number of things, but it was nameless or silly fun.
That same night, actually, me and Jordan, or no, it was me and Zach Price, actually.
Yes.
We ding dong ditched before, but there was another night we brought that big horn that we got at the monster truck rally.
Yeah.
You had to do the big.
Yeah.
We brought that out to the lake, and I think that's the night the cops called you. Somebody was mad that we were making noise. You remember that?
I do not.
That was the only night somebody called the cops because there were some kids out making noise on the lake.
Thankfully, the cop would have been my friend.
Oh, yeah.
So.
That was the only thing we ever did. I never threw stuff at cars. We'd go out and make some noise or walk around the Harvey Hill.
That's just harmless fun. Bored.
I rolled down that hill in Harvey once, right on my side.
No.
I did. I said, I wonder what'll happen. So right in the middle of the road, it was probably 2 a.m., there was nobody around, and I started rolling, and I'm more top heavy, so eventually I started going sideways, ran into the curb, but I made it out okay. That was right after they freshly paved it there.
Oh, yeah.
2000 and...
Whatever. Needs to be done again.
Probably.
That's just, look, you create fun.
Yep.
When we were kids, in my generation, so your generation has stories, in my generation, we would build camps. We would collect whatever scrap lumber our parents had or whatever, and we would go into the woods and we would build camps, build forts, build whatever. And why? Place to hang out. There was no internet. There was no Wi-Fi. There were no phones. When I left home in the morning, Mom would say, be safe and have fun. And I'd say, okay. And I weren't going to be back until I was hungry.
Yep.
Needed water. But if I needed water, I could drink it from the brook.
Drink right up one of those little...
That's truth.
Little muddy hole in the
Yes, sir. Pull that right in. And we would go into them old camps, and your kids. I remember one time I stole from my father a cigar. I don't know what they're called. Grape. Anyway, whatever them cigars were. And we thought it would be really fun to go into this camp, try a cigar. So we get into the camp, and there was a couple of us, whatever, that was there. They're terrible, by the way. Ooh. So we did the whole thing, whatever you have to get it, so that the thing doesn't burn so fast, and we lit it, and we hauled it, and we went. Well, when you did that, you saw stars.
Dear Lord.
You just there.
You ain't even supposed to bring that in.
Probably not.
You're supposed to taste it.
Yeah, well, we tasted it right into the lungs.
Dear Lord.
We did that with cigarettes. Stuff. I mean, we were a bored generation, but we had fun.
No money.
Zero. No money. Couldn't go. We used to go up to May Green's China Shop. There used to be one over here in our town years and years and years ago. And then she moved out home to Carlingford. And I remember going up to May Green's on our bicycle. We would bike up. We would get Jumbo Freezies for $0.25. And then she had penny candy.
It was $0.25?
$0.25 for a big one, the big Jumbo Freezies.
The reason I say it was 50 cents when I was growing up. And that would have been 25 years later.
Maybe it was 15 cents. It was cheap.
Yeah.
Like we could go up there with $1.25, which was hard to come by in my day.
Yeah.
And it was a bill and $0.25. You didn't have a loonie. We had $1 bill, or 4 quarters or 5 quarters, whatever. We would go up there, and May Green was so precious and sweet. And we'd walk in, and she had a bell like you have here. It would ring when you walked in the door, and she'd stand up and look you all over. She had beautiful stuff in there, but she had this one section of penny candy. And we would go over, and it would be red and green and yellow. There was no names. It was full of red dye, black, whatever dye.
Yep.
I mean, it was just full of dye. Whatever. It was just pure cornstarch and sugar and dye, but it was fantastic, and a little bit of flavoring. And it was a baggie of 100 penny candy.
Did you buy 100 at a time?
100. That was our day. And he would buy 100, and he would buy 100. Man, we were just high on sugar.
Dear Lord.
And we would get on our BMX bicycles and travel back down over the hill. Some of them had I didn't have any brakes. Brakes wore out on those things. So we used to take our foot and put it in close to the tire, and that would kind of slow us down. My buddy had a banana bike down the road from us. He had a banana bike with hard wheels on it, and he would get going as fast as he could go down the road, and then he'd pull the brake on. He had the old-fashioned style with the pedal brake, and you'd hear that. It sounded just like a car out front squealing. Every parent was in the window wondering who just got hit, and then it was just Brad on his banana bike.
I heard a story about that one time. A feller not on a banana bike, but on a BMX.
Yes.
And he was going along and tried to do that, and he got his foot all slipped up, and
Yep.
he went right over.
Boo!
Just took him right out.
Uh-huh.
I laughed. It was awesome.
Probably broke his foot or his toe.
No. He was okay, but
We didn't get hurt back in those days.
No. Even if you did, you wouldn't tell nobody.
You walked it off.
Yeah.
I have scars all over my elbows and knees
Yeah.
where we would, that story in particular, same thing, going down the road, we would travel in packs, like a bunch of wolves.
Yeah.
There'd be 5 or 6 of us going on our bicycles. One guy had a 10-speed, 2 of us had a BMX, one guy had a banana bike, one guy had whatever. That was before mountain bikes and all that stuff was fancy.
Mongrels.
Right. We never had them. We were the mongrels.
Oh, well, that's what I mean.
And we were traveling down the road, and this guy in the 10-speed, without checking, without looking over his shoulder, without doing anything, he just pulls over into my lane. Well, my tire is already by his tire. I mean, I'm coming, because we're trying to race each other, right, going downhill. Yeah. So we're doing...
Without brakes.
Yep. We're doing 20, 25 miles an hour. It's fast. And he just pulls over into my lane. We were just like some of them fellas on the big triathlons there. When one guy wrecks, everybody wrecks. Thankfully, it was only me that wrecked. And I get up, and there was blood, and there was whatever, and
Imagine you didn't go in the ditch or something.
swear at him and say something and call him a name, and
Oh, yeah.
a name that would be terrible today.
Yeah.
And then we would dust each other off, get back on, and go again. Get home at night, and after you're taking your bath, you'll be picking out rocks, and
Mom be asking what's
mother would say,
happening.
"What happened to you?" "Oh, I fell." Didn't tell her it was out of a 30-foot tree. Oh dear, real versus fake.
McGuire's Barbershop. More than just a haircut. It's where style meets community. At McGuire's, you'll get a clean, professional cut in a welcoming, down-to-earth atmosphere. Walk in, sit down, and leave feeling sharp and confident every time. McGuire's Music Ministries, bringing people together through powerful, spirit-filled music. McGuire's Music Ministries is all about sharing faith, hope, and inspiration through song, reaching hearts wherever the music goes. Pentecostal Lighthouse River de Chute, a place to grow in faith, find encouragement, and connect with others. Join us for uplifting services, heartfelt worship, and a strong sense of community where everyone is always welcome.
When income becomes God, talking about being poor, you know, you guys never had much when you were younger. You just had enough to get by, swing out of trees, hurt yourselves. But in the Bible, specifically, we're talking about fake Christianity and all that. When income becomes your God, we seen in the temples, when Jesus went in there, he took a whip, beat people. I've often tried to imagine how that would go with the Lord. Well, you're whipping people. You ever whip somebody with a towel?
You?
You did. You did too.
I didn't, well, yes, it was on purpose, but I didn't mean to hurt you. It was a big welt.
Jeff Saucier,
Yes?
his boy was in here one day, and he was standing right over here by the entrance. And I was walking by just trying to be funny like you did, and I just, swung it out. And it just snapped. Just, took him right in the cheeks, and he was Jeff was laughing.
Oh,
He's just like you.
well, he come from that generation.
I fell in a hole.
Yes.
Remember that time on the bike? Down on Perth Hill? I just flew down that hill, fell in a hole, and you made fun of me. You were laughing.
You started at the top end of the driveway and said, "Watch this, Daddy."
That was 100 feet probably.
True story. Because you come down the hill,
Yeah.
and I had my plow sitting there from off the truck. It was just parked for the summer. And you just missed the plow, and you kept going down over the hill, and you hit a hole and upset.
Did I ever?
You did. You were crying. I was laughing. You were trying to get your breath.
I'm pretty sure that's when the front bar, like when you're driving along there, the front bar, it took you right in the...
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
And I flew over top that, and you couldn't even hold your breath. You were...
I don't know what it is about the way
That's
I was
terrible.
brought up, but when people get hurt, I laugh.
Children, holy jump.
And you were... It's like that commercial where the kid is going to put their finger into a light socket, and the mother's saying, oh, don't do that. And the father says, let's just let it play out. It's 110 volt. He ain't going to die. Hopefully. If he does, we'll call 911. Yeah, true story. I apologize for that, but I couldn't help it. Now, I did help you back up, and I got you on your way.
Oh, yeah.
However, I don't know if you did that again.
Nope.
Yeah, done.
I think that's probably where I stopped liking going on rides, too.
Florida may have did that.
There's a chance.
We had you on that boat, the big ship. We was in Old Town. It was going up and up, and your mother was on with me, and she hates rides, but she went on because you went on. Desiree was having the time of her life. She had her hands in the air, and she was just having a ball, and you're holding your breath. And your mother's reaching back behind you saying, breathe, Chris, breathe, Chris, breathe, Chris. And I'm saying, this is the greatest thing ever. It was so fun. Breathe, Chris, breathe, Chris. Oh, Mom.
Grammy for you.
You know what, though? When you was a child, a baby, Gracie's age, we put you in a swing. Like used to have a rocker swing.
Yeah.
And I cranked it up, and I put you in it. You weren't having that. And I wasn't doing it fast. I just started it.
Sure.
No, really, though. I just started. You were doing speed wobbles. You started going, and you went back, and it was fine. But when you come ahead, you were going,
Yeah.
and you didn't like that from day one.
That happened to our baby one time. We were going down the steps at the church, and I was just going along like I normally would, and I looked over, and she's going, poor little thing.
You know, I wonder that day when Jesus went in and upset the tables in the temple.
Yeah.
Jesus was having a really bad day.
Oh, I guess.
I mean, yes, he was God manifest in flesh, and yes, all of this. He was divinity, but he was humanity. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, other than the word that tells us that he was upset that they were selling.
They were selling animal sacrifices for
That's
more
what
than
it
they
was,
should have.
right?
And they had money
were
changers.
personal gain for it. You know, that was. Yeah. And Jesus wasn't into that. So whether John didn't fix his coffee right, whether he hadn't had breakfast yet and he was fasting. I mean, I get angry when I fast. I get hangry. I have to be careful because I get. And I don't even know. I'm just saying. But his human side was like, you bunch of idiots.
Yep.
Do you not know you've turned the house of prayer into a den of thieves? And he
took at him.
Took a rope and started whipping them.
Oh, yes. Good. And
upset tables and kicked them over. And I mean, he needed a Snickers.
Yep. You imagine his disciples too. You think of Jesus, you think of this calm man going along, kind of like old Pastor Lewis.
Yeah.
You know, just stoic and
steady.
And then he goes and does that, you know.
Right.
And it's a bunch of young fellers.
Right.
I think the youngest they estimate would be like 14.
You imagine.
14-year-old kid watching your elder prophet go and do that stuff.
Right.
That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
What is Jesus doing?
You'd almost want to join in.
Right. Here, let's kick her apart.
Riot. Just like you guys.
Start a riot.
Start throwing apples at people.
Oh. Maybe I can get one from here.
Yeah.
We used to do that in the potato field. We do it with the little potatoes. And there was always girls way up in their section picking. And you always wanted to try to hit them in the hind end. I mean, it was just a thing.
Gracious.
It was just a thing. But I'm telling you right now, when you connected, she would drop her basket and she would come to you, and it wasn't a friendly moment.
Judy.
It wasn't a friendly moment. I mean, it was everything but a white man. You were being called, and they'd go home with their big welt on their right cheek. I mean, their hind end cheek.
Yeah.
Because you were being, or you would try. I've been the recipient of receiving. You know, you'd be way up, and there'd be some wise guy down behind us. You know, he'd be all picked up in his section, and then you'd hear it coming through the air like a torpedo, and then boop, it would drop beside you. Thankfully, it didn't hit you. Well, that was an invitation to war.
Oh, yeah.
And then you would hide behind a barrel, and you would just start heaving them down at your neighbor, you know, from here to the bridge down, or whatever. They would go far. We got to try that this summer.
Throwing potatoes?
Well, we'll do the apples. We'll go out, and I'll show you how we use.
We should do that with the kids at church.
I used to
Set them all up apples and just throw them at each other.
Yes. Oh, I don't know about that, but I used to sit at our house, and Mom and Dad lived across the road. And when Uncle Doug would come to visit, I would do that from our apple tree. I'd take the small one.
Throw them at Doug McGuire?
I was trying to hit him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or his car. Because he'd be sitting on the porch with Mom and Dad talking about things and whatever, and I was just being
Get
foolish.
something stuck in his afro.
It would bounce off. And I would throw it over, and Mom would be like,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever.
That was terrible when Grant would go up and he'd throw them friggin' firecrackers right behind old Graham Veda.
Right?
She couldn't move.
He still does that. Every now and again,
does.
I'll be at the house, and I'll hear pop, 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 pop. Dad's over there lighting firecrackers, scaring somebody.
Scare Graham, scare the...
Yeah. She'd come up out of that camper, and the old thing would just start rocking. My God! What are you fellers doing? And we'd get a kick out of it. Funny, eh?
That's terrible.
Somebody else's fear we'd be laughing at. Calamity.
That's just like Caden. Caden's just the same thing as Grant.
Remember, he did that at Desiree's wedding.
To who?
An older gentleman. I'm not telling you where he got the firecrackers from,
Caden
but
did?
yeah, we were sitting around laughing, and I gave some to the wedding party. Desiree didn't approve, but she didn't know until after. And then when she nailed one of the groomsmen about doing it, he was like, "Well, your father gave me the firecrackers." Well, she got mad at me, but anyway, whatever. We got over it quickly. But Caden took one and he lit it, and he threw it into the crowd, and it landed on an old fella's foot. And it went off, and he did a half a 360 right, and he did a 180 right around, and somebody hollered, and Caden just kind of disappeared into the crowd and come over and he said, "I'm just going to stand over here, Uncle."
He would have only been 7.
Yes.
Dear
What's he
Lord.
doing with a lighter and firecrackers? Who gave them to him?
He's a little Dave.
Yep.
That's wild.
100%.
I can't believe you gave him a firecracker.
Oh,
7.
100%.
What's that old movie there, the Christmas movie, and they say you're going to shoot your eye out? He gets the Red Ryder BB gun.
Oh, yes, I know, but I can't, I'm drawing a blank, but I know what you mean.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
Grammy Judy, she would have not approved.
We laughed. I did. He come back over.
The old feller?
No.
Ha!
Somebody, he could have gave him a heart attack, like he's old.
Yeah.
And somebody come over to me and said, that boy had, I don't know if it might have been my sister Emily or whoever. And I laughed and I laughed. Emily was trying, you think that I'm bad, she's worse. But she was
Emily?
she was trying to maintain her control on her child.
Oh, she probably loved
doing
it.
that. And then she come over to me, she's like, "Who gave him the firecrackers?" And I'm like, eh. Better yet, who gave him the lighter? It's a 7-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Could have burnt the barn down, but whatever. Fire department's not too far away. But anyway, you know what?
Whoopsies.
You know what that did is it just broke the tension. It broke the tension. And because weddings are a little tense and
Yep.
whatever. So this was the after celebration or whatever.
My Lord.
It was hilarious. We had a ball.
Am I covered?
We had a ball. You just got a little bit there.
I can't even do it.
But so Jesus would have been having a really bad day. The Bible doesn't say. I mean, it gives you clips of his life and
He
the
had
life
bad
and
days.
times of. Sure. That's why he went up to the mountain to be alone.
Yep.
Or away to be alone.
You imagine every day going into, let's take church, going into church to preach, and then the leaders of the church coming out and trying to kill you.
Right?
Kill you.
Right.
Not just, kick you out.
Right. I mean, we've been in some hairy situations over the years in churches, and you've witnessed some of that where somebody has turned on us. And
Remember the time when Jesus was teaching at the synagogue and they took him, they thronged him and brought him up to a cliff, or they pushed him to a ledge, and it said that he just slipped through the crowd. But you imagine to get angry enough at somebody to push him off a stinking cliff.
do you know what the world does not like? And that's truth.
Oh, yeah.
And Jesus was cut and dried. He is truth. And he helped people understand that you shall know the truth,
Yes.
and the truth will set you free. So he was trying to free prisoners that didn't have truth. And people don't like that. When you tell somebody the truth, they get angry.
Yep.
They get angry.
They have to respect you. Otherwise, I had a buddy do that to me. Call him.
Wow.
He'll tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And he's one of the only ones on my friend group that'll truly tell me the truth.
If you're looking for an opinion, go to him.
Yep.
Should I do this? Absolutely not. What, are you crazy?
Yep.
He'll say, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
We need that center in our life.
But we don't just need that. We need to respect that.
Yeah.
Same as God. He's going to tell us what we need.
100%.
And that's where we need to pay attention to what is true and not what we're being told. Even the Lord said that you gotta study to show yourself approved.
Yes. Jesus is not going to say to you like a father would, go ask your mother.
Yep.
Because our mother in the religious realms is the church.
Yep.
God's the Father.
She nurtures us. The
Right.
church nurtures us, but don't always mean it's right.
Right.
A lot of times.
I've asked Mom growing up, can I do this? Well, go see your father. And I would go to my father and he'd say, well, what'd your mother say? Jesus isn't going to do that. Jesus is going to give you an answer.
Yep.
Should I do this? No. And sometimes we don't. Or, sure.
Yep.
It's great. What an idea you have. So, not everybody likes the word no or the truth.
You ever hear that pastor? I think he was an evangelist or a missionary traveling around, and a big church down in the States contacted him, said, we're going to give you a house, we're going to give you this wage here, you just got to sign on. Whole house, all this stuff, and he had nothing. And he prayed, and he said, well, I'll go to the Lord about it. The Lord said no. That's not where I want you to be. That would be hard. Because it feels good. It feels good to have freedom and to have security, but maybe that's not what we need.
Our pastor did that.
Was that Pastor Farrell? Yes, it was. He told that over the pulpit.
They were going down into the States, and I'm not going to mention the other man's name, but they drove him up this well-to-do neighborhood and said, you pick the house you want.
Yep.
We want you to come. I'm not certain if it was to be their music ministry or if it was to be their associate pastors or the assistant to the pastor, whatever it was. And they were offered a pretty hard to refuse package. And if you were an opportunist, you would jump at that.
Yep.
And many have failed. But one thing I can say about Pastor and Mrs. Farrell, there are advocates.
Oh, yes.
There are friends. He's my pastor. He's my spiritual authority. When I have an issue, I don't bother them 363 days of the year. I don't. But there may be a couple of days where I need to call and say, hey, this is happening. What do you think I should do?
Yep.
And I don't always like his answer, but they're real.
They're steady.
100%. We've molded our life, raising you guys, and the things that we've done over the years, we've molded our life after them.
Yep.
We've watched them, watched how they raised their children, watched how they were, and it was the middle of the road. Excuse me, it wasn't too far right, too far left. It was middle of the road. It was normal as being a pastor can be, and that's how your mother and I started out, by watching them. And but he went home and he prayed about it, and, and both he and her prayed about it, and they just didn't feel it.
Yeah, well.
They just said, it's just, I've contacted Pastor Farrell different times and been in his office and have said, this opportunity has arisen for us. I'm praying about it, but I'd also like for you to think about it. And if he comes to me and says, I see no yellow flags, I see no red flags, I think it's great for you to do, then I pack the bags and go. But if he comes and says, let's give it some time, then I know that he's been in touch with the Lord.
And that's also coming from wisdom too, because he's got his psychology.
100%.
And that's what we need to do with study to show ourselves approved, not just with the Bible, but with other things. We need to understand the human psyche.
Yeah.
And he has got that.
100%.
He's helped me out before.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and we need that.
I genuinely believe that the church over here, and there's, you know what? Not everybody's going to like you.
Nope.
I've had to struggle with that in my life because I always wanted everybody to like me. But that was based on years of growing up and being bullied and being called fat tubblard and just things like that. So I had worked extra hard in my life to try to make everybody like me.
Yeah.
But I've come to that conclusion that you're going to have a few enemies that just don't like you for whatever reason that is. And I, to have them at this church over here, to have them in this village, this town, that's a high honor.
Yes, it is.
And people just don't realize it. They just walk around like the rest of us, and he could be teaching in the world's greatest seminaries. She could be playing at Carnegie Hall.
Oh, yeah.
They are well versed in scripture. They're well versed musically, like they're tight and on.
Yep.
And but they choose, under the calling of God, to stay in our little town.
Yep.
And surround it with their prayers. That's fantastic stuff.
Wild.
They could be anywhere in the world, but they choose here. God chose here.
God chose here.
So if God chose here, they chose here.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that as well is actually part of what we're talking about today, which is the love of money. Now, it mentioned that if Pastor Farrell was an opportunist, he would have jumped on that.
Yeah.
But he wanted to follow the Lord's will. And I had thought this morning about some things to do with the megachurch pastors or these big organizations, corporations that have developed and become money. They become evil over the years because they're all based off of money. How much money can we receive this year? What can we give? What can we do to bolster the pastor's income? Which, not that the pastor shouldn't get paid, but physically, some people can't handle money.
100%.
I listened to a psychologist talk about that. He had a gentleman that would attend meetings who was an alcoholic or a drug addict or one of the two. And that person would work for a week. Soon as they got their paycheck, they wouldn't be heard from for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But they go out that night and they just blow the whole thing on whatever issue.
Go on a bender.
Yep. And some pastors are like that. You've probably seen the video before. There's a megachurch pastor who's got like 2 or 3 jets, got limousines, got all sorts of wild outfits, clothing, watches. And it's so corrupt. That's not at all what the Lord wanted.
No way.
You look at the Baptist, John the Baptist. He was in the woods eating locust and honey, wearing camel fur. Not that that's necessarily what we need to do today.
Yeah.
But God wants us to be humble.
Jesus said, build my church.
My church, that's right. Sell all you have, give to the poor. And that one guy, he could have become one of Jesus' disciples, but he didn't.
Over the years, some of the churches that we've pastored, when we were first starting out, and they were little, tiny, we would pay some of the bills.
Yep.
But we were there for the right reasons. And your mother and I always worked.
Yep.
We always worked. And when we moved to a church that we were actually paid full-time on staff was the very first time. But it still wasn't a lot.
No.
It was a living. It was a living. The house was provided and all those things. So I thank God for that. The church that we're currently in, I'm making a living.
Yeah.
I could choose. Now I have a board that I answer to and I love them. But I could choose to pull whatever resources out of that church and just drain it dry.
Yep.
I wouldn't do that.
There's people that do that.
Yeah, 100%. That's not my heart.
No.
So we've capped off at this compared to what's in there. And it pays your mother's and we pay our bills. Of course, Mama works full-time in the school system, and that helps. And she makes what I make.
Yep.
So together, it comes together and we pay bills and we do the things that we have. I had somebody years ago say, boy, it must be nice to be a preacher. You got a side-by-side and you got a truck and you got, well, you know what? I pay for that.
Yes.
That's not provided. We were at a church one time and a lady come to me and she said, you need to talk to our pastor. And I said, for? We want to buy him a Jaguar, but he won't accept it.
Yep.
And I said, what does he want other than a Jaguar? Well, he wants to stay with that old car he's got. And I said, if pastor wants to stay with that old car, let him do it. Mm-hmm. Good on you for being able to provide him with a Jaguar, if that's what,
Yep.
But some pastors would be like, yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Give me that Jaguar. I want it in this color. I want this out. And they would give you a whole list of.
Remember the story of Pastor Lewis? Not about him getting a Jaguar, of course,
Okay.
But he kept the same truck.
Yeah.
Same color.
Yep. When he would trade, he had them old Ford Rangers.
Yep.
And he would trade them, and they were green, they were brown, but he kept the same. If he traded a new truck, it would be the same color.
Yep.
He didn't want people to think that he was flashy, and he wasn't flashy or splashy. When he became the superintendent of the organization that they're in years ago in this local district, the district bought him a Chrysler 300.
Wow.
And, I mean, it's still a Chrysler product, but it was a nice-looking vehicle.
It's a nice vehicle.
And he was traveling down the road one day, and he told one of the preacher friends that he had with him, he said, yeah, the district bought me this car so I could drive around some of these highfalutin preachers.
Oh, my Lord.
So, but that's just, he was not flashy or splashy.
No.
He loved to spend time at the camp.
Yep.
He loved to peel potatoes and put on his old plaid pants and his plaid shirt and just go out into the woods and just be him.
Yep.
And that speaks a lot, because he built a big assembly over here on Tea and Toast.
Yes.
He traveled around, he visited people, and he built this church. And of course now Pastor Farrell and Mrs. Farrell are there, and it's fantastic. And they've inherited that, but stayed the same too. They're not flashy or splashy. He doesn't have great big fancy cars and great big fancy this. They're just normal people. And I think that has to do with being in the country and being brought up this way.
Possibly.
Maybe. Or continuing in that same vein. But when you're a pastor and you need to have not one but 3 jets to do the will of God,
No.
something's wrong there.
Something's wrong there.
Your mother and I, doing the will of God, we'll get in the car and drive 13 hours
Yep.
to get to a place where we'll preach our guts out and the Lord will move and we'll just travel 13 hours back home. Would it be nice to have a jet? Awesome, but I'm not interested in a jet. Who's going to fly it? I got to pay that guy. I can't hardly pay the the cleaners in the church, like we, like we're so. But when you have a mega church, I've often wondered how that works. How
bureaucracy.
I don't, and please forgive me, Lord, or you fellows watching and whatever. And if this is you, I don't mean. How can you justify $1 million a year salary?
Mm-hmm.
How do you justify that? I have never made over $50,000 pastoring in my life.
Yep.
And that's more than some of our laborers make. I can justify that because that's pretty normal and average.
Yep.
But how can you justify $1 million?
Mm-hmm.
How would you have time to pastor? You got a lot of money. How can you justify a multi-million-dollar mansion?
Yep.
And some people say, well, it's God's blessing. And that would be fantastic.
Yep.
Would I love to put new siding on my house? 100% I would. Can I afford to? Not currently. But someday maybe. But a pool and a sauna and 15 rooms for you and your wife and servants and people.
There's a funny one about that. I just got told a story by my father-in-law the other day. And he's not a pastor. He's just a man in the church. And he got wealthy, I believe, outside of the church. When he was wealthy, he became a Christian. But people like that, there's a reason the Lord said that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. Because people do not want to part with their money. If you're paying tithes on $10 million a year, it's $1 million.
Yeah.
Aside from the taxes, aside from your business costs, people don't want to do that. My math is right there, isn't it? $1 million.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? If you get $10, I've always paid tithes on everything I receive.
Yeah.
And that can be hard sometimes at the end of the week after you pay the taxes. With my business here, just in a month alone, I'd spend $1,500 just for the business, just to walk in here.
Yes. Turn the key and get in.
And then on top of that, you pay your tithes, you pay your taxes, you pay your tools. I drop tools every week.
Yeah.
And it can be, you can look at it and say, oh, that's But the Lord's blessing follows that. And that's what we're supposed to do, is supply for the pastor, for the church. That's why it was set up. David did that for Melchizedek.
Yeah.
And I think that is the most important thing. The most important thing.
It says to bring your tithes and offerings into the storehouse.
Into the storehouse.
I believe in, Mom and I pay our tithes.
Yep.
This morning, actually, I was sending e-transfers out to pay bills and things, and I was like, oh, darn it, I also have to pay my tithes.
Yep.
And so I said, well, I'll do that later on today, and I will. But we pay online, that's how we do them, and they're just done. I mean, when you give whatever the government requires from your paycheck, you don't think twice about it.
Yep.
35, 40% taxed to death.
Yep.
But when somebody says, well, the scripture teaches 10% of your increase, so pay your bills. Now this is how pay your bills, but whatever's left or whatever your increase is, pay your 10%. People are like, for the love of God, all that preacher wants is my money.
Yep.
Well, they don't say that about Yahoo that's up on Sussex Drive in Ottawa. All they want is my money. It comes out automatically.
Yep.
Done. You don't have no choice over it.
It's funny too. People have bad mindsets about that because it's not they're not paying their money to you. They're paying it to the church. They're paying it to God.
Yeah.
What God requests from them.
Yeah.
And if you have a God, what do you guys say? God enjoys a cheerful giver, but he'll take money from a
grump.
From a grump.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's still important to pay your tithes.
We have it set up in our assembly that there's a tithe account, there's a general account, and our tithe account always has money in it.
Yep.
Now, if we were to base that on the Bible, 100% of the tithe is supposed to go to the pastor.
Yep.
And then the church runs on the offerings. Well, in our rural communities, not all the offerings are huge, so the church can't run to do the programs and the things that we have even at our church.
Yes.
So the board and I, when I first moved here, I said, what is your package? What are you delivering to me for a package? What do you have for a percentage? Well, we don't have one. So that seemed to be a board without a plan. So what we've helped them do was to set up a plan. And we really don't have, I guess we could base it on a percentage once we know what our year end is, and we do. But like it's less than 50%.
Yep.
What I take for my salary, because we do a lot of work at that church, a ton of work, you know. But then there's a remainder in there that pays the insurance, that pays the heat bill, that pays the light bill, that gives to a preacher that has to come in our absence, that whatever, that's still there. And the church runs properly, in harmony, and there's money. I've had different board members over the years come up and say, what do we have any money? Because they get nervous, you know. You got one person but now we have a secretary and we have an accountant that we're accountable to, and they know what's coming in and out. And I can open up my phone and say, here's what we have for a balance. Oh, we have that. Yep. And I like to keep it at that all the time. I want to keep that in there because a heat pump might play out. Whatever you need to have that money there for that purpose. So do I think that you should get rich as a pastor? Absolutely not. Should you have your bills paid? Sure you should. Should you have opportunity to go away for a vacation? You need to.
Yep.
You have to. Should you have a vehicle provided? Look, if the church can afford that, that's fantastic. I'm just against this whole mega mentality of, I need $1.6 million just to survive this year.
Yep.
Well, you got too much.
Yep.
Did Jesus have 1.6 million? Jesus didn't even have a house.
Nope. He was living out on the land. Went up on the Mount of Olives and he stayed the night.
100%. So there's, do I think that it's neat that these fellas have that? Sure. And who in their right mind wouldn't want that? But if I'm going to be a good steward in the kingdom, I'm looking at down the road. That's my pay.
Yes.
My payday's going to come when I reach that city that we preach and teach about and try to get everybody to go to with us. That's going to be my payday.
I've never seen you guys focused on money in my whole life.
No.
I've seen you focused on paying your bills and keeping your family fed. But that's the one thing I always grew up with.
Yeah.
And after I moved out and whatnot, we started to take a better look at life, and we made some investments and some business decisions.
That's important.
It's important, but because of you guys, I've still kept that mentality that it's not about the money.
Yeah.
This business, I'm glad to have this business. I'm glad to charge what I do and to pay. But honestly, I'd prefer if I could do it for free.
Yeah.
For the Lord's kingdom. I've even told people in here that, it's a hard job, but it's harder when you can't make a proper connection because people are more worried about the income than about the conversation or about each other. But
that's so awesome.
To end off today, because we're getting right to the end of it, I wanted to talk about what real Christianity looks like. To tie everything all together. I know people can look to you, they can look to me. I'm not going to say I'm a real Christian. I do what I can. I don't always live by the way that I should. People would call me is it an apostasy? Or
apostate?
Apostate. You could call me a bunch of things because I don't appear as a real Christian or what some people envision a real Christian to look like. But the way that you guys have always raised us is a Christian is someone who has a personal walk with God. It doesn't so much matter about their looks. Doesn't so much matter about what they have. It's about who they are and the fruit of the Spirit.
The whole idea of being a Christian, the word Christian definition is being Christ-like.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Jesus upset tables. Yes, Jesus went away privately by himself to reboot. That's life.
Yep.
That's life. But what you do see is Jesus healing the sick and raising the dead, setting the captive free.
Yep.
So if you're going to be Christ-like, it's more than having a fancy sermon and being able to tell really cool stories.
Even Paul said that.
Yeah.
Said, I can't do all that.
Yes. He said, I have not come to you with enticing words of man's wisdom, but in power and demonstration of the Holy Ghost.
Yes, yes.
And when I see somebody on the street or in the church or in the hospital or wherever I'm meeting somebody, when I leave their presence, I don't want them to say, he is the most fake idiot I've ever met in my life.
Yep.
When I'm gone, whenever that day is, and the Lord knows, I want it to be said about me, not that he was rich, not that he was famous, not that they were great singers, not that he was an incredible pastor or preacher, but he was real.
Real, yeah.
He was real. He was cool to hang out with. Mm-hmm. He was fun. He was enjoyable. He didn't judge. He didn't.
Yep.
I heard a story one time of somebody that visited a particular church, and they went there 3 times. Now, this is a brand new person into this church. And somebody met them at the door on the 3rd visit and said, if you're coming back next week, you better wear this, 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 and this. So now there's an guideline or an entrance to come into a church.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus never said that.
No.
Matter of fact, it says, come as you are.
Yep.
Come as you are. And there were 10 commandments that were given. Thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not, do not covet, do not, down through the 10 commandments. But then when groups got a hold of it, they begin to subdivide and add point A, subsection B, point A. And before long, there was 300 of those commandments.
That's why the Lord said that you guys are making it so hard for people to get to heaven.
Yeah. I've heard people tell me, oh, I can't go to that church. Oh, I can't. I can't be a Christian. It's way too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I begin to recalculate my life when I went through a deathly ill sickness. And I had been normal to that point, but also that sickness that I went through helped me do nothing but think. I couldn't do anything else. I was paralyzed.
Right.
And I remember just thinking, you're reflecting over your life. What have I done for Christ? I know what I've done personally, and it's been fun. What have I done for the Lord? Because really, at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yes.
What have I done for the Lord? What have I done for the kingdom? Have I promoted his kingdom properly, or have I been just a drag? And I don't want to be a drag.
Yeah.
I want to love people where they're at. And I want to surround myself with people that love people where they're at. That's what it's all about.
That's true.
And some people, and I know, and they have, and I've been called a compromiser right to my face. I had one preacher one time said, well, you've always been a compromiser since Bible college. Well, if being real is a compromiser, then so be it.
To compromise. What does he mean by that, though? To compromise the organization? Or
to go outside of the box that you've been brought up in. Mom and I put no walls when it comes to various organizations or denominations.
Mm-hmm.
We just go wherever we're invited.
You know, I've met the realest people outside of really strict religion.
Organized religion, yeah.
I've met the realest people. I've met a lot of real people inside of it too. One man specifically, though, I was talking to him one day. He was a Wesleyan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because he believes the same as Pentecost.
Yeah.
He just has a different title.
Yeah.
And so interesting to me because a lot of people may discount him or immediately shut down. Like when you're having a conversation with somebody, they call it being open, listening, active listening. Some people shut that down just because they hear that he's something different than them. And this man wasn't.
Mm-hmm. I've sat in the presence of preachers, and they have said, oh, what do they know? They're Wesleyan. What do they know? They're Baptist. What do they know? They're whatever.
What a way to say.
Terrible. I would dismiss myself from those people.
Mm-hmm.
Or making fun of somebody's lifestyle. The Bible is cut and dried.
Yep.
Sin is sin, period. No matter what you are, what you did, sin is sin.
Sin, yeah.
And in order to come out of that sin, there is a way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a real preacher, a real minister of the gospel, a real Christian will do.
Yep.
Is help people from where they're at. If I'm stuck in the mud, I want somebody to come help me get out.
Yep.
And if I don't even realize why I'm stuck or whatever, I want them to help shed some light. Well, look, the reason why you're stuck is you got bald tires. You got to get you some new tires. Whatever,
right.
Whatever that is. So I appreciate organization as far as its structure.
Structure. Yes, that's important.
We're in an independent assembly, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I have the freedom to move and go, and I've always had that. And I didn't care what people thought.
Yes.
And I enjoyed hanging. Some of my close. There are 3 churches that I can think of just off the top of my head that when we were full-time evangelists traveling to, that I could walk in the door. One of them is the current church that we pastor. I could walk in the door, literally go sit on the front pew as an evangelist and go, I don't have to be anybody.
Yep.
I don't have to be. One is our great friends in Massachusetts. We love to go down. That's one person called me a compromiser because I was going to their church to give them God.
Wow.
And that hurts deep.
It would.
Because my motives are pure.
People don't see the heart. God sees the heart.
And if you don't believe the way I believe, if you don't like red, then you're no good for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you don't like purple or whatever, I'm just coming up with if you don't like doubles in your coffee, then you're an idiot. Well, not everybody likes double.
Yep.
I like my coffee with nothing but a little bit of cream. That's it. So just because I'm not walking in the same organization or the same belief system that you are, doesn't mean I'm a bad person.
Yep.
And I can't be fake. Your mother is one of the most real people.
She can't help it.
She can't hide her. I can hide. I have a politician face.
Yep.
I can.
Yep.
People will talk to me, and I'm not going to let them know whether I like them or not. I'm just going to smile.
Yep.
And I'm going to talk back, and I'm going to walk away. And I might not want to go on vacation with them, but as an individual, I'll listen. And your mother, she can't hide that face. I had an associate one time come to me, and they had done something to a friend of ours, and whatever. And I can put on that face. Hey, how's she going? That don't mean I'm fake.
No.
I can hide some things. But your mother looked the complete opposite direction. I mean, she wasn't giving them a second of her time. Not a second. That's Mama. She's as real as rain. But I'm telling you something right now, that when you put a mic in that woman's hand,
oh yes,
and she gets up in front of the people and begins to sing, The anointing that it just oozes out of her.
Yes, it does.
Because she's not fake.
No.
She has nothing to hide. She has nothing. And she grew up with nothing.
Yeah.
They didn't have anything. She said, I can remember looking in the couch for pennies so we could go buy bread.
Wow.
Like they didn't have anything. And the Lord has molded her and shaped her into what she is today.
Yeah.
And we joined forces 30 years ago, and the Lord has put us in a direction. And at the end of the day, whether you're this organization, that organization, this denomination, whatever, we're children of the King.
Yes, we are. That's right.
And I want to reach people right where they're at. I want to get down to where they're at and say, look, I got something for you, and it's a hope.
Yes,
and
that's
his
right.
name is Jesus.
Yep.
I never want to be called fake. I never want to be called fake. I want to be as real as I can be for the kingdom.
That's right.
Because Jesus was real.
Yep.
He was real.
He was the realest.
He felt compassion.
Yep.
He took a little fella, a volunteered lunch from the little fella and broke it, and he fed 5,000 men, plus the women, plus the kids, So 15,000 people from a little boy's lunch. Then he did it a little while later to 7,000 that were out there. And he would heal the sick, and he had compassion upon the centurion that came to him and said, I'm a man under authority, and I know that if you'll just speak the word, and the Lord had compassion upon him and said, your child's whole. Yeah. He stopped funerals and said, listen, get out of there.
Get out of there.
He went to the tomb of Lazarus and said, Lazarus, come forth.
Yep.
He cried before he did that. Yep. He was real. And I've always wanted to mold myself after real people.
Yeah.
I can't stand fake.
I get you.
Can't stand it.
I get you.
It repels me. It repulses me. And that's why we are who we are. Real versus fake. Do I think I'm worth more money? I don't know. I always told the Lord, Lord, I want to be able to pay my bills. I want to be able to keep our family happy. I'd like to take a vacation. Mm-hmm. Now I'm at the stage in my life where I'm saying, Lord, I want to pay my bills, but I'd like to have a little bit left over. I'd like to have a little bit extra just to go get an ice cream or go whatever. But when, I can't remember, the country singer said it years ago, a lady, she said, when you're looking at me, you're looking at country. And it's true, when you're looking at me, and when they're looking at you and they come in your shop, they're looking at the most real Christian they're going to meet, in my opinion.
That's all we can do.
The most real.
That's all I can do.
Love people where they're at.
Yep.
Don't judge. Stop judging people by the way they look and the way they smell. Society's tiered that.
You're right.
Society has tiered that.
Oh, yes.
Color of skin. Society has tiered that. And governments have been extremely successful at dividing people. Mm-hmm. Because if people will stay divided, they're not going to overthrow the government.
Right.
Canada needs to stand together.
You're right.
We need a change.
Mm-hmm.
We need a change. That's a whole other topic. But our nations, the U.S. is one nation under God.
That's right.
And I'm a man under authority, and his name is Jesus Christ. And I'm under him. I don't ever think that I'm greater, no, sir. And I'm not perfect. There was only one perfect man, and they hung him on Calvary.
Yes, they did.
But I'm as real as you can get. I'll help out whoever if I can. If I can't afford it, I'll give you a ride. Or whatever. I'll buy you a Tim Hortons coffee or something, but I don't come in with some big agenda that I'm going to make $1 billion. Or how big can I grow this church so I can get a bigger salary? No. I want to grow the church because I want to add to the kingdom.
That's right.
It's not about me. Never been about me. Perhaps maybe in the beginnings of our ministry, I may have gotten sidetracked on, look what I've done, look what I did, And we've baptized hundreds of people. We've married hundreds of people. But it never was about me. It's not about me. And people probably watching this right now saying, he's the biggest fake I've ever saw. Well, whatever. That's up to them.
Yeah.
I put my leg through my pants just like everybody else does when they get up in the morning.
That's right.
And sometimes I stink and I have to have a shower. I'm just a normal person. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And when it comes to Christianity, give me somebody real. I'd love to talk to real. This is real talk right now. Real talk. And that's how we wanted you guys to be. And you are.
We are.
That's what's fantastic. Even Desi, your sister and her husband. Real. Real as rain. It's the way to be. I can't be anything else. I'd love to have liposuction.
Dear Lord.
Now, there's an investment in this.
I hate to call it off right now, but I got to get back to work, and we got to start real life again.
Yeah.
Outside of this podcast.
I love these conversations. And you get to join in.
Yep. And we're thankful for that. So we'll bid you adieu.
That's a good one. I bid you adieu.
And we're
Thank you for watching Beyond the Roar.